Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Showdown narrated Wi-Fi battle video, if you want to call it Wi-Fi, I guess. But today's video is another PU match. I've been having a lot of fun playing in this tier recently, and I'm up against a pretty threatening team because this guy that is playing, Crying Lightning, has been somebody I've actually ran into quite a few times on the PU ladder recently, and he keeps innovating and re-innovating the stall team that he has right here. This match ended up being really fun and really good, and I am a person that does not mind even in the slightest bit playing against stall. I know a lot of people like it, or hate it, excuse me, but I find it to be very interesting and creative, and especially when it's done really well, because stall teams are hard to come by. A lot of people give them a lot of crap. I think that they are a completely legit play style, and if you lose to it, you need to mess with your team to be able to handle it, in my honest opinion. And this battle is very interesting. I'm using quite a very odd team as well, but I've been having a lot of fun messing around with it. So anyways, my opponent's going to lead off with Corsola. I let off my Sableye. I'm going to go ahead and go for the taunt as I go and basically prevent this Corsola from setting up rocks. I'm going to go for the knockoff to get rid of its item. Knockoff being a really good option against a lot of stall teams because a lot of times they rely on their item to keep them alive throughout battle. But if you're looking at his team, he has 3 Pokemon with Regenerator, plus he has Skuntank, which is really useful for obviously absorbing Toxic Spikes, which can be great, as well as also just picking stuff off and Pursuit Trapping, which can be very good. And he's also packing in the Pyukumuku as well, which is going to obviously have the Unaware ability, which is going to prevent other Pokemon from setting up and sweeping. So it's very creatively composed, and I really like this team. But I'm going to go ahead and switch out into Gorbis, thinking that I have a pretty decent opportunity to deal some damage to this Corsola. I'm actually Hidden Power Grass, and he's going to go right into Pyukumuku, probably predicting the Shell Smash. But I decide, hey, Pyukumuku can't actually touch Silvally if it's the Poison variant, which is what this one is, because I actually pack Silvally Poison to absorb Toxic Spikes that my opponent tries to set up. But the funny thing about this is that this is just one of those situations where I can just constantly switch back and forth between Silvally and Togedemaru because Pyukumuku can't do anything outside of Toxic Stall. So if I just switch into a Toxic Poison type, he has to soak me. I switch out into Pyukumuku, he has to soak me again. I just can keep going back and forth. There's really no way he's going to win this. But I eventually end up in this matchup of Saucebuck versus Tangela, and I am actually running the Headbutt, like Serene Grace Leech Seed variant of Saucebuck, which I made a video on a few months back. It's really fun. It doesn't really work super well in this particular battle against this Tangela because obviously he can just PP stall me. He can switch into Tangela, switch out into something else, which will take the Headbutt decently well, then switch back into Tangela to get the Regenerator, and then just rinse and repeat this process over and over again. As you're seeing right here, I can't really do anything about it. The only way that I could do something about this would be if I also had Toxic Spikes or some Toxic of my own on the Saucebuck. But I'm actually going to predict the knockoff right here and go into Togedemaru because I actually don't need to be Choice Scarfed in this battle, so I actually get that item completely gotten rid of because I noticed that I'm actually going to need to switch up my moves. I don't want to be locked in anything, so I actually saw that opportunity. I thought it was really cool. But I'm going to go ahead and go to Pinsir. I'm going to set up my rocks. It's going to be really helpful to do that. And then I'm going to go back on to Togedemaru as he sets up his own rocks, but it comes into this kind of situation again of him bringing in Tangela, being a really good check to the physical Pokemon that I have on my team. I'm again going to go ahead and go on to Silvally in this situation. I have the multi-attack, which is Poison type in this particular instance, but I also predicted the knockoff, and obviously the RKS system, whatever drive you're using, won't be able to get knocked off, so that's one advantage also to using Silvally of this variety. But I'm just going to go on to Saucebuck, go for some Headbutts again. I'm actually getting pretty lucky with these. This is a really fun set. It's just that I haven't had the chance to really use it too much. And in this particular battle, this set really isn't that useful. So he can, again, as I showed you before, he's protecting here because he knows that he can just stall me out of Headbutts eventually. So as much as I want to keep going for this and think like, hey, I can really, take a lot of damage out of this Audino, I'm going to keep going for Headbutt. He goes into Corsola. It actually makes a really nice play there, because if by some chance I switched up my move and went for Horn Leech, that would have done a ton of damage. He's just going to go into Tangela here, though, and probably double switch to just get the double Regenerator. Yeah, exactly, to go right into Audino. I'm just going to go into Pinsir. Again, my Pinsir it's Moxie. It's actually Focus Sashed with rocks, and it's kind of cool if you can get it going. I've actually swept a team once while using this Pinsir because my opponent didn't have anything for it in the lead position, so I KO'd something. I got a Moxie boost, and then I proceeded to just deal a lot of damage to everything. But unfortunately, Pinsir, again, is not really something that can do too much damage to my opponent's team. So at this point in the battle, I'm slowly realizing that really the only way that I'm going to break this guy's stall is if I have to basically force him to make a mistake. And that's really how you beat stall. Stall is a very safe playstyle, But if you force your opponent into a situation where they are going to be unable to make either a good play that advantages them in some way, or force them into a situation where they are going to be losing a lot of health for some reason on one of their walls that can then later not be able to switch in, which is actually this turn right here, which is the most important turn in the game. I Super Fang the Pyukumuku, he kills me, that's fine, whatever, but I'm able to actually go on to Sableye, and I keep the Pyukumuku at 50% health, and this is what I was talking about. Pyukumuku does not have Regenerator, so that is going to stay there until, obviously, it switches in again in a potential new situation. So I go out into Pinsir with the sole intent of sacrificing it here. I'm going to deal a little bit more damage to Corsola. Corsola obviously can have Recover, so this really isn't going to do too much. But I go ahead and I bring in my Gorbis, and this is where I force my opponent to make a mistake. I have the Hidden Power Grass. That's going to do 31% to his Pyukumuku, meaning that the one Pokemon he has in my team to check my Shell Smash setup is now at a range where I can KO it regardless of him ignoring my Shell Smash boosts. So I go ahead, I get my Shell Smash this turn. My opponent actually has this very interesting Regice set, which is a Curse set. It's very cool, and I've actually played his team again where this set actually beat me entirely. But I know that this set packs Rest, so I'm going to use this opportunity to go for an additional Shell Smash right now. Go for the Surf. It's going to do a considerable amount of damage. He unfortunately gets another Curse with the Sleep Talk. That's kind of the randomness of that. But this second Surf is going to be enough to KO the Regice, and at this point, I pretty much won because he no longer has a way of checking my Gorbis. So Pyukumuku is going to come in here, and he's just going to die to that, and he pretty much has nothing. The only other thing that he could possibly have done was maybe have hoped for like a crit Sucker Punch from the Skuntank, but that was very unlikely, and at this point anyways, I'm pretty sure that I pretty much just beat his team with Saucebuck anyway, because eventually he would have to switch out with Tangela, like I was showing you before, and then I would have to go ahead and just like Horn Leech whatever he brings in. So it was a really, really, really advantageous situation for me at that point anyway, even if he somehow did KO my Gorbis. But that's basically what you have to do to deal with stall teams, if you are able to deal with them in such a way. But you have to make sure that you have a team that can handle it. Otherwise, you're just going to lose to them. And this turned out to work out just incredibly well. Forced my opponent into a really bad situation. In that play where he did go out into Pyukumuku, if he just went out into Audino, he probably would have just won the game anyway, because I would have had to set this whole situation up again, and he could have like wished with Audino or something and got Pyukumuku back up to health. So it was a misplay on my opponent's part, which allowed me to win it. But overall, this team that I'm using is really fun. I don't still think it's that great, but it's very cool. So anyways, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little match, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.